The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the Davis administration hit out at tonight's special guest just hours before his appearance, calling him reckless and not serious. And get this, it's the result of a policy intention he announced on Saturday during his party's official launch into the 2026 election season. Tonight, the leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, is my special guest, and we have an opportunity to discuss with him a number of issues that are trending this election season and have him, in his own words, give us a look at the direction he intends to take the country if he's successful at the polls. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, we start with the latest story coming out, and this happened late this afternoon, and then we will go through everything else that's trending. Reckless and not serious. That's how Prime Minister Philip Davis described the opposition's campaign pledge to abolish the bank through the post office system. Pintard, of course, leader of the opposition, Michael Pintard, said that he is sure, slow down a little bit please you all, that commercial banks will not lose money as they provide essential services for Bahamians throughout the Family Islands. However, Davis, in a press release earlier today, argued that it's a move that could shut down a public institution which serves scores of residents and leave scores of Bahamians out of a job. Well, Davis's communications director, Latrey Ramming, says it's a campaign pledge that the governing party continues to warn residents about.
We've seen a continued pattern of the leader of the opposition making policy pronouncements and not really understanding the implications of them. What he's seeking to propose is to abolish the post office saving bank, which so many persons on the Family Islands depend on. And so you're talking about firing more than 200 Bahamian professionals, closing how most Family Islanders do banking. And I think that is a backwards approach, or like the Prime Minister referred to in the segment, a reckless approach. But I think we are not surprised that when not scripted, the leader of the opposition make these type of reckless claims. I think the Prime Minister has been on record as to what is at stake, and I believe that a policy like this will have serious implication to Family Island development.
Well, we start right there this evening with the leader of the opposition. It's good to have you here. Good evening to you, Mr. Pintard. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Good to have you here.
It's good to be back after such a long hiatus.
A long hiatus. How do you feel after Saturday's launch? I mean, you see the Office of the Prime Minister responding to one of the many announcements you made on Saturday. How do you feel after Saturday's launch?
Saturday, we are optimistic. It will not in any way cause us to slow down. We'll put on more speed in terms of getting our message out to the public. We had an overwhelming turnout of Bahamians in the hall, in the hallways, obviously online, and we have been encouraged by the response, not just of FNMs, but some folks who were historically critical, some members of the PLP who themselves, they recognize that we value them also. We don't demonize members of any political party. We just believe that we provide a better leadership, not just for FNMs, but for them as well. We sought to focus on what would be the policies that you could expect under my leadership, under the Free National Movement. And we wanted persons to know that we've given careful consideration to the financial implications of what we've said. And we are confident, by the grace of God, when we become the government, working in tandem with various stakeholders, we'll be able to do transformative things in the Bahamas. So I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful.
So let's talk about one of those things you mentioned right there that you had the Prime Minister no doubt responding to this afternoon, and that is the intention to do away with what many people gravitate toward and are happy for, which is that post office savings, where they get anywhere from 5% interest at the end of a given year to however much, 4 or 5% interest. They're saying, can two not exist or coexist?
Well, again, I'm not going to dwell on what the Prime Minister's tirades to distract the public on his tirades and us focusing on his point of view. We're going to proceed with what we have in mind. We had an opportunity as a caucus to meet with the Auditor General, myself, Kwesi Thompson, and had a discussion about the system that we presently have in place in terms of the post office system. We know it needs drastic changes, but the big issue isn't that.
Yeah.
The issue is to what extent the unbanked residents of our family islands can expect under us to have banking services.
And how do you
we've
Yes.
clearly indicated that we're not interested in a big fight with the clearing banks. We believe that banks will be in jurisdictions carrying out services if they feel they're not going to lose money. We have done a calculation on what we believe is roughly what they spend to the government every year, and we want to make sure at a minimum they can break even but provide an essential service so that they don't have to go through some of the avenues they're going through to transfer money, to take large amounts of money and deposit it and have it safely transferred to Nassau. And so, again, we've had a chance to work with persons, veterans of Ministry of Finance, and others to look at what will be an alternative system. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, you'll see us roll out each plank of our program, including the reform for banking, which includes making sure that people who are unbanked in the family island will have banking services. I'll say this final thing.
Yes.
We're not in the business of laying off Bahamians, and I made that very clear in my presentation. We will not be in the business of coming in to cancel projects, programs that work. We are interested in continuity in government. We are not interested in throwing our people out. That's what the PLP did.
So it's no stop, cancel, review, and fire and all the rest of that.
We're sensible and mature in our governance. So this business of firing family island persons or interrupting opportunities for them to earn interest, there are multiple ways to do so. We just don't agree with the inefficient way government has been doing it up to this point, and we will put forth an alternative that will not disadvantage our people in the family island. We care about them more than the PLP.
But the FNM cares about the family islanders because many of them, especially on islands where they have to take a ferry to go to another island to bank and get their banking business done. This has been happening and they have been underserved. Will this reform in banking include what many people feel is unfair fees?
Oh, without question. Shanique, you would remember we raised this matter publicly. We met with the governor of the central bank with a view of looking at not just the fees on the services within the bank, but the fees associated with digital transactions, which we felt were too high. We're also concerned about the spread between the interest you receive when you make deposits and the interest that the bank charges when you borrow or use money that is deposited. We believe that there are a series of things that the banks, the commercial banks are doing in the Bahamas that differ to some extent from what they do in other jurisdictions, notwithstanding our contribution to the banking community. And
absolutely. And this is something that your administration feels as though it can correct?
We believe working in tandem with the clearing banks, not in an adversarial way, but certainly aggressive on behalf of the Bahamian people and working with the governor of the central bank, we will make progress. I said in the parliament, Shanique, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who also berates what he sees as happening in banking, I said, you sound like an activist. Bro, you in charge. So why don't we work in tandem to convince your colleagues that they should do more in terms of making sure that the cries of the Bahamian people in the way they're being treated by some of the commercial banks has to change, and we intend to change it.
Now, at Saturday's launch, you tore into this administration and the claims that the former FNM administration is responsible for passport fraud. Now, we know passport fraud is something that you have just leaned into heavily, really since last year. And so you said recently that whenever, we're going to start right here with this topic, whenever Fred Mitchell, you just called his name a moment ago, is in office as Minister of Foreign Affairs, he mucks it up. What did you mean by that? What is exactly that Fred Mitchell does as Minister of Foreign Affairs when it comes to this whole passport, citizenship, fraud issue?
Let me make this point. To narrow a comment to him alone would be an understatement. The Progressive Liberal Party is not providing the proper oversight to protect our national identification cards, whether it is passports, whether it is voters' cards, whether it is the issuing of birth certificate. We believe that there are some systemic problems, some worse than others, meaning some of the national identification cards are more vulnerable than others. Mr. Mitchell happened to be in the ministry with respect to passport. And again, he has made some appointments that have not provided stellar service to the Bahamian people.
Which appointments are those, you think?
With respect to this particular matter. So on the matter that we're dealing with now, the passport, I listened to the comments that have been made by multiple government ministers, including the head of the passport office, and we're disappointed. The reality is...
Where has he failed, in your opinion?
Let me. He's not the person I'm seeking to replace. I'm seeking to replace the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister represented, Shanique, that this issue of passport fraud, which can lead then to have one being in possession of a fraudulent voter's card or a voter's card you're not entitled to, he said it was isolated. I sought to, again, bring to the public's attention that the Prime Minister must not be watching the news, one. Two, he must not be getting briefing from his various departments that have pointed out that there are fraudulent activities as it relates to our passport, in some cases our NIB card and voter's card. And so I laid a document with 74 names,
yes,
of a wider list that we believe could be as many as 300. So again, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have not had full cooperation, even from the Chief Passport Officer, in terms of working with investigators, working with prosecutors to make sure we can unravel these rings that exist. And so
I'd like
that's
to,
my
and
concern.
Speaking of the rings, let's break that down a little bit. Where has he fallen short? Because he's appeared, I've invited him on the show several times to speak about this, to answer every time there is an allegation made, a statement made. I've said, can you come on and please address the Bahamian people?
You can address the Bahamian people, but it would be more helpful to work with the investigators so that we can...
So you're saying he's not working?
I am saying we have systemic failure, and government officials, as you listen to them in the House of Assembly, ranting and raving when I'm raising something that is in our collective interest. This is a government that wishes to position itself as being committed to our sovereignty. They seem to fight harder against those of us that are seeking to protect the sovereignty of the country rather than cooperating with us to say, listen, let us put together a united front in order to deal with where the gaps are in our system or where bad actors may be. And
so
I'm disappointed.
When he, meaning Nicholas Simonet, says, listen, the former administration of which you served as a member and a key senior member relaxed a number of the criteria of what was necessary to either renew or gain a new passport. When he says that that relaxation created this sort of perhaps loophole, and when he took office in 2024, he tightened those and further firmed it up. What do you say?
Because I say he's a creature of instruction. So let's not talk about him. Let's talk about the minister.
The
ministers in cabinet. So let's park him for a moment. We applaud any public servant who wishes to do some serious work. We just want them to be cooperative with other arms of government, so we can have a whole of government approach to dealing with what is a broken system with bad actors in it.
So you believe that there are at least 300 fraudulent passports out there now?
I want to just button this up properly. I'm saying that the ministers of the government are misrepresenting what they have done. When it came to the renewal of passports, Senator Henfield has explained this well to the public, so I echo his words. It is a stringent process to get an e-passport. What we sought to do is, in reapplying, that is renewing the e-passport, there was no need for the resubmission of all of these documents. So any relaxation that I'm familiar with is the relaxation that relates to you are renewing. All new applicants went through, when we were in government, the same stringent process. So this bogus argument they're making, it doesn't make sense to me. You
don't buy it?
No, my colleagues who worked in that area, who I believe adequately advised us, don't buy it. So my point is, let's look at the list that they're talking about. The list that I laid, they then came out and rebuffed the Prime Minister by saying there are 98 cases of fraudulent documents that we're trying to get to the bottom
that
of.
Are being investigated.
So we now move from an isolated case, according to the Prime Minister, to multiple, dozens and dozens and dozens
So
of
what do you feel then, Michael
cases.
Pintard? Do you feel that this administration is somehow
Out to lunch, you said?
intentionally not addressing this issue for its own benefits?
I would put it this way. I believe that the government is lax. It doesn't have a sense of urgency in responding to the cries of Bahamians to protect the sovereignty of this country. I believe also that they have a high tolerance for persons who are bad actors in the system. This business where we have some immigration consultants, and I don't characterize all of them in the same way, but some of them who are working for profit, notwithstanding how we could be negatively affected. I believe this government knows more about them than I do, and we don't see evidence of them addressing that issue. That's the second thing.
Who are these people working for profit? Because it's been said, and I've said it on this show myself a few times about the rings. We've heard whether they be rumor, whether it be social media post, or indeed something that's being investigated about the various rackets that are perhaps going on. You are saying that these rackets are indeed happening, and this administration is turning a blind eye to them?
That is the clear impression that I get, given the fact that I do not see a sense of urgency. I do not hear a sense of urgency. And each time we raise a matter that's in our country's best interest relative to fraudulent documents, we are the target. The persons who speak out are the targets. They are more concerned about how, for example, in this recent incident, whether it was Bahamas, they're more concerned about how you get information rather than the veracity or the accuracy of the information. And even when the information is clear in black and white, we do not see an urgency in them acting. There are at least 10 active cases before the court. There's more than 10, it's double digit. Then you have this wider list of matters that are being investigated and requires the complete involvement of all of those persons in different departments where any national ID is given.
So then, Mr. Pintard, will you cause there to be, should you be elected in the upcoming general election, to be a forensic audit over the last 10 years of every passport, every birth certificate, every marriage certificate, every affidavit, all these areas? Will you cause there to be some audit about, and whoever is found culpable?
We intend to audit the system. I've said over and over, work permits, spousal permits, the issuing of permanent residencies, particularly under this government and citizenship, need to be evaluated, and you need to authenticate these national identification documents. And so we are already in discussions with persons who have the technology that can assist us in this regard. So again, we're disappointed that the PLP is seeking to spin on a matter that requires resolution. This is our country. One country we have. Let's work together to clean it up.
Now,
fix the system, remove bad actors.
About what you feel is an immigration oversight, registrar general oversight as well, will you bring about reform in these very important, very critical areas?
Oh, without question. We intend.
And if senior civil servants are found to be wanting, will they be prosecuted?
We will not confine this to civil servants. We are saying bad actors are not only in the public service.
But they're the ones who many times it is felt and thought that they're the ones who are running the rockets.
They would be dealt with, but I'm saying to you, the overwhelming majority of public servants, we believe, are doing the right thing and want the system to work. The handful that are not, we must make it easier for whistleblowers to assist us, and we remove those bad actors. But policymakers have an obligation. We know what is going on in the country, and we have the authority to act. What I'm saying is the PLP does not demonstrate the moral character to fix this system. If you're not prepared to fix it, you must be contributing to the state that it is in or benefiting from it. And we believe immigration is not a matter that they are interested in fixing because somehow they appear to be benefiting.
You also talk about whistleblower. You mentioned that a moment ago. On Saturday evening, you said there will be protection for whistleblowers.
Without question.
In the Bahamas, do you really think that we have room for whistleblowers? Michael Pintard, you as Prime Minister,
Yes.
would you want whistles to be blown?
Of course, listen, the Prime Minister, when he was in opposition, was busy blowing whistles. He said when assaults are happening. Then when he came to government, he wanted to attack the whistleblowers. It's sad, most unfortunate.
We are just getting started this evening. There's much more ahead with the official leader of the Free National Movement, the official opposition, Michael Pintard, here on Beyond the Headlines.
The official and unofficial. You just say, let's just go with leader.
The official and unofficial. No, the leader of the Free National Movement, Michael Pintard, is back with me right after this break. Stay close.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel. And I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Uh-oh. Luckily, it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. But just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! Help! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes your process you and entertains them 24/7.
I go into the shop and what I see, the things what they tryna sell for tea. I come to bring it back where I get it from. And then they tell me they don't give refund. I say, girl, who is you? I want my money back cause this thing ain't new. She tell me slide out, move off the line. I ain't gonna lie, nearly lose my mind. Time now, I just tryna get straight, you know. But they won't rob me, but I don't know. So I walk off, got out of sight. Cause that's enough robbery for me in one night. March off like a marching man. Call Consumer Protection Commission. When they pick up, I file a complaint, and quick as that, I get my money back, but don't mess with the CPC. Don't mess with the CPC. Hey, don't mess with the CPC. Cause why? They here to protect me. Follow the Consumer Protection Commission Bahamas Facebook page to stay up to date on tips that protect you as a consumer. It's your boy, the Immune Trick.
Very dry, tight, sensitive skin? Relieve it in 60 seconds with Aveeno Skin Relief. With soothing triple oat complex, clinically proven to heal and strengthen dry skin. Aveeno, your skin stronger.
Don't let diarrhea steal your sunshine. Imodium Multi-Symptom Relief gets to work fast in just 1 hour, offering our most complete relief from diarrhea, bloating, gas, and cramps. So you can get diarrhea off your mind. Imodium. Calm the chaos of diarrhea.
Hey, it's time to lock in your vote.
Your vote is your power.
With the new boundaries in place, you may need to transfer or confirm your voter registration.
And if
if you have never registered or didn't plan to vote.
Don't get left out on one of the most important decisions of your future.
Make sure when election day comes, you're ready to say,
your say, your vote, your choice.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. If you're just tuning in, my special guest this evening is the leader of the Free National Movement, Michael Pintard. He is here for the entire hour addressing some key issues you heard in the first segment. He kind of really hounded that passport and fraudulent and corruption issue as it relates to the passport and the various tiers that kind of documents in particular that lead to one gaining a passport. And so you would call for, and wherever, by the way, welcome back to the show, Mr. Pintard. It's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
You would have anyone who is found to be involved, whether it be a ring, a racket, and whichever level they are, to be brought before the courts.
Without question. We say to members of the public, if there's an issue with a public servant or, again, a public official or policy maker, one of the reasons the ombudsman law was passed is so that nobody's off limits in being investigated. The problem is this government refuses to fund and to fully give force to these important accountability legislation. Same thing is true about the freedom of information. If you are not prepared to put in place and fund and staff those agencies designed to keep a check on us, then I'm convinced, I believe the public is convinced that you must have something to hide.
You would bring, listen, in your first day in office, you would see that whatever the process is to get that Freedom of Information Act passed is in place.
We have said in the first year that
how many administrations
I can't account for why people don't honor their word. I can only tell you that one good way to judge what somebody will do in the future is see what they have done in the past. And I've sought to be consistent in my position from I was a young activist up to now. When I was Minister of Agriculture, related to the same issues we're talking about credibility of documents, I fought for Bahamian fishers. I believe that the fisheries sector, as the law says, is to be reserved for Bahamians. And persons who we investigated and whose lawyers could not help them get a work permit in the fishing industry or a compressor permit are now on boats. And so the question is, what is this administration doing where we were able to successfully defend against legal action to get persons on fishing vessels who are not Bahamians, and now today, many of them are on fishing vessels affecting the industry in a way that we find unkind.
You seem to be quite happy of your performance in the Ministry of Agriculture as Minister of Agriculture, in which, of course, you served, as well as Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture as well. But let's go back to agriculture. You talk about a number of things you sought to introduce and now are in place that protect Bahamian fishermen. Was there any good thing? Because it seems as though for a good minute now you've been trying to push off, and when I say you, this F&M, push off from anything that the former Prime Minister has done. Was there any good thing he did?
No, that's actually not true. We have, and I have been the chief defender of our time in office. But the reality is we are realists. There are some things we did not get right, but we have defended vigorously our track record. We've defended the fact that during Dorian, in the aftermath of Dorian, we moved very swiftly to try and stand up persons in the agriculture sector. We assisted fishers with the grants. We tried our best in COVID to make sure that no one lost their job. We did not lay off persons. We provided benefits for persons who were, for example, not working, could not go out to work because of COVID. We provided unemployment assistance for them. We also sought to provide food assistance. So, I mean, there are many things that we did we thought was good. But there were things that the public also believed that were not right, which this is why we're in opposition. So in terms of what did I do in agriculture that I thought made a major difference? Well, one of the policies one of the things we did is we passed the Fisheries Act to do many things, including reserve this sector for Bahamians. This government has taken us backwards in that regard.
How have they done
I just mentioned that there were lawyers seeking to defend others from other countries so that they could be on fishing vessels. They were not successful in so doing. Our investigations, our intelligence allowed us to make the case forcefully, and they were not able to get them on Bahamian vessels. The question is, what has this government done to pave the way for many of those persons to now be fishing in Bahamian waters, who previously we were successfully able to prevent? But here's the big issue. We believe that Bahamians produce world-class agriculture products. That's not been our issue in the past. What's been the issue is, can we do it consistently and at a quantity to meet the demand and at a price point that makes sense?
Even as a lawmaker yourself, do you think that it can be done consistently? Because this is why many Bahamian fishermen make the request for perhaps foreign labor on their vessels to be able to effectively and efficiently get the job done, get that fish out the ocean, and be able to process it and have it shipped wherever they want.
But I'll go back to the point I was making just now, and this was about the policy around buying food in the Bahamas. The policy that I put in place with the help of Cabinet is that 40% of all food that is purchased in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas must be purchased from a Bahamian producer before a permit for importing those items is given.
Has that been achieved though? Because
no, it's not. It's not. But I just want to make the point so the public could be clear on it.
Okay.
That is a policy that now guarantees a market for an agri-entrepreneur, an agriculturalist.
For agriculture,
right.
But how are we, because this is also something you talked about on Saturday as well, and that is obviously firming up agriculture. Food security is a major issue. Cutting that food import bill, which is around $1 billion a year,
correct,
cutting that substantially. But what is the plan to get that done? What is the plan to make farming attractive and appealing? What is the plan to fund? What is the plan to fund farming and farmers on various islands and get us growing our own food?
Right. It starts with a policy of guaranteeing the producer that we are protecting you in terms of making sure before food stores, before restaurants, before hotels are able to import, they must check to see if we have the capacity to produce. 40% must be purchased from us. If you are unable to, of course, we will not hinder the importation of the food. So that's one. If government is spending money on food, 70% of 70 cents of every dollar have to be spent with a Bahamian before the government can import. And we spend millions in education, in national security through corrections department, in health. And unfortunately, this government has not exploited that policy, which is a game changer. So that's one. That's the second. After the Fisheries Act, the ability to secure the market so that Bahamians, again, are given an opportunity to sell to hotels, to restaurants, food stores. We had a program with Atlantis. We asked them, give us your top 25 items that your customers consume. And then we agreed on what that price would be. They were prepared to work with us. In fact, they were willing to make available 500 acres or thereabouts for farmers to use. That program has gone nowhere under this administration. The Agro Village, which is various farms working in a cooperative system. We would begin with 2, but our goal was to build 6 of them. One in Gladstone Road, the second one in Grand Bahama. Again, the government has gone nowhere with it. So my point is that we have the ability to empower our farmers and our fishers by making grants as well as loans available to strengthen their business and to connect them with other funding agencies outside of government that can assist them in standing up their business or upscaling their business. Unfortunately, they have not built on items of what we have done. The final thing I'd say in agriculture, we identified the 77 products, that is fruits, vegetables, ornamentals, livestock, that we could successfully compete globally in. Right. Now, there are thousands of agriculture products. We cannot compete in all of them. But 77 of them, and we did the careful study.
How far did you go in this thought to be able
all
to
of the studies
to
were
at
completed.
least 77 items,
all of them,
have them be so good and look so appealing and just so that the world is attracted? Because I want to ask you about this reform in agriculture and what it is that a Pinto administration is proposing. How do you get, our farmers to grow good, organic, healthy foods, then get Bahamians to buy into that is best to eat local, to be able to reform their habits, their diets? It'll certainly chip that health care bill that we will get to later on in tonight's show.
Yes. So first they must know what is it that you can produce cost effectively that could be competitive globally. So we did the studies. The studies were done along with IDB, the Food and Agriculture Organization, with IECA, which is the agriculture arm of the Organization of American States. The second thing we do is we guaranteed the market 40% of anything purchased must come from Bahamian producers. The third is, again, to create a regime where you could provide funding to empower small, medium, large agricultural producers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas so that they are able to meet this massive demand. One of the ways you create linkage between tourism and agriculture is to reduce the amount of money earned from tourism that goes out of the country. Mm-hmm. So more than 80 cents of every dollar goes out of the country to buy everything the tourist consumes. If we are producing our food, you are now keeping much of that dollar in the country. If you're producing matches and mattresses and candles and soaps, hard as well as liquid, we are, again, saving some of the funds that we have earned from tourists. So the linkages between tourism and agriculture and light manufacturing gives us an opportunity at a real shot at true diversification in the country. We have to be disciplined about it. We have to have continuity in government. That is why this nonsense about stopping projects and firing people, that's bogus scare tactics being used by the government. We are interested in what works. Mm-hmm. And if a project is working, we'll keep it. We know the Golden Yoke isn't working. $40 million plus they are already in with that project, mm-hmm. and they've not produced any eggs. Eggs only take but 4 to 5 months to produce, Shanique. The question is what they doing with the money and why this is not rocket science. And so we are prepared to, again, keep programs and individuals mm-hmm. who can assist us in transforming the country.
So you wouldn't come in there like a bull in a china shop and just stop, review, cancel.
I was the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, mm-hmm. the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, and I didn't fire anybody. How many of them are able to say that? I'm interested in Bahamian excellence, no matter what political color that you wear. What we do not want is obstructionists in the system or some consultants who've been hired, but who on social media doing political work rather than work that changes the condition of our people. That's what we're about. So this other stuff they run on with, police.
So the single mothers are certainly interested in this $200 a month? That you've talked about that you're going to give.
For qualifying mothers, it is important for us to give them help, particularly with their children in the first year.
What would make them qualify?
Shanique, someone in your demographic, with your income, would not be somebody that we're trying to give $200 to help with the child in the first year, because you'd be able to afford it. But for those mothers who wish to go to work but don't have the ability to leave their child in a safe place and need assistance, we believe that $200 a month would assist them. So this is not universally for every child that is born in the Bahamas. It is for those persons who need to be able to go to work and leave their child in a safe space. We are committed to that. We're committed to expanding universal, preschool, because the early years of our children's education is critical. It's foundational.
Is the preschool system that's now in place not working?
There isn't. We need to expand it. That's the bottom line. The government cannot accommodate all of the persons in the K system. So there are also private agencies, and we provide a subvention to them so that they can take on our children. We now need to expand it. Not all of our children are in fact benefiting from preschool. In fact, When we came to government the last time, 65% of the children, when you did the assessment, a lot of them were struggling with their shapes, with identifying colors, with numbers. We need to change that. So we did some work.
How do you overhaul education?
You have to start. You have to start at the foundation, preschool. Yeah. Make it universal. So by the time they get in grade 1, they have improved. And so we made some progress. This administration made some progress. But again, there's still a lot more to be done. And so we wish to expand, again, preschool and assist parents.
We have so much more to get to. I don't know how much of it we will be able to get to, but certainly people are interested in 5,000 houses in your first term. Michael Pintard, that's quite ambitious.
I didn't say in my first term. I said in the 5 years. In the 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, I'm not like the present prime minister who's thinking multiple terms. I'm thinking let's get the job done in the term that we have.
So
well, you said first term. I just will let them know I'm not addicted to power like the brothers who may have preceded me. I just want us to take on the.
If you were to be successful in the upcoming general election, you wouldn't want 2 terms?
I would want to take care of the legacy problems that we have. And some of
those
issues.
You think 5 years is enough to do that?
And some of those issues are so tough, people may have a challenge. I could live with that as long as we can tackle these fundamental issues that we are not dealing with. When you start thinking 2 terms and you only finish the first term, here's what happens. You start looking for these low-hanging fruits. And rather than focus on fundamental change, you start playing politics of actually ribbon cutting for a thing that is not fully open, groundbreaking for a thing that may never emerge. You take my point? And then, of course, lots of photo ops signaling, if you give us more chance, we'll complete this, and this. That's a problem. So no, I ain't on that run. We are not on that run.
Okay, well, listen, let's talk about this run when we come back after this break, because I want to know if the F&M has a reputation for not necessarily being one of the housing administrations in terms of, thousands of houses. How is Michael Pintard going to achieve that one? And then we're going to see how much of healthcare reform and all the rest of that involves our public healthcare system we'll get to. This is Beyond the Headlines. This evening, my special guest, Michael Pintard, leader of the Free National Movement. We're back after this.
Play for fun, not for funds.
In the Bahamas, we play hard, but we live smart.
We love a little competition.
A little excitement, a little thrill.
And at Idle Luck, gaming is all about entertainment.
Shared moments, celebrating the wins, and enjoying the experience.
The key is simple. Play for fun, not for funds. When you set a budget before you start,
and know your limits, you stay in control.
And when you're in control, the game stays what it's meant to be.
Fun. So play for fun, not for funds.
Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At InvestStar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all tuned in. My special guest this evening is Michael Pintard, leader of the Free National Movement, fresh off of a launch, number one, of the full slate of candidates, and then the 2026 election campaign. He had that launch on Saturday at Bahamar, and this evening he is here to talk about a lot of the highlights and the key points, policy initiatives that he announced and announced to the Bahamian people as well as that audience on Saturday evening. And this evening he is here to talk through a lot of that, a lot of important areas. If you've just tuned in, you miss him speaking obviously about the guarding and protecting our sovereignty in the passport situation that continues to be an issue and a hot button issue this election season. He talked about from the housing initiative, the $200 for single mothers, those who qualify, food security and agriculture. That is hugely important because the Bahamas, like much of the region, is very vulnerable to having to import. Much of the region is around the 90+%, I guess, level when it comes to importing food into their nations, and this is something you want to address and have announced plans to address.
Yes.
The housing initiative, I know when we were going to the break, you kind of got into it, and I said an F&M administration is not known for building houses, and you want to go at 5,000. People are saying, what is he thinking?
Again, as I mentioned, those persons who are not familiar with the history of the F&M, we have served for 4 non-consecutive terms. For 3 of those terms, we produced houses in very large numbers. So that's not it's not accurate. And then let me then transition to what we plan to do. We believe that the demand that exists in the Bahamas is so massive that we have an obligation as a government to work with the private sector, to work with the public sector in taking a stab at reducing this backlog of requests. There are 12,000 homes, according to the government system, that people have made applications for, and we believe it's north of 12,000. And so we believe using traditional build, whether it's with 8-inch blocks, whether it's depending on which island you're on. Some people love building out of T111 or lumber and put sidey panels on it, or through bringing in manufacturing companies and manufacturing with using panels.
We want to be careful though, because I was happy to see the shift away from cheaply building these government homes and giving people a better quality of life and quality home once they move into these sort of newer model homes now.
Right.
I think, is there an intention and an effort to pay attention to ensure that a few years down the road, the house isn't falling apart around the people?
Without question. And so the goal is using traditional build as well as bringing in manufacturing companies owned primarily by Bahamians, and the construction work being carried out primarily by Bahamians, that we have the capacity to make a huge dent in this. So
I know something else you announced is getting people in there with no down payment.
Correct.
How do you do that when if they cannot meet the down payment, how will they be able to continue meeting the monthly payment?
Shanique, there are many Bahamians who are paying $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 for rent. if you're paying that kind of money, we ought to be working, like I said, with contractors, financial services companies, in order to get them to be spending that money on a mortgage, not on rent. Remember when I got my first home, there was something called indemnity insurance. And so rather than paying the whole 15% down, which is a decent chunk of money, you buy insurance, which was a very small amount of money. It could be $1,500, it could be $1,000 and change. So when we talk about persons with no money down, we are going to, again, as a government, assist in working again with the contractors, with the financial institution, so we could get on with them simply paying the mortgage. That's what our goal is. We have lenders who we have already been in discussion with.
So they are willing to loan money to people who don't.
Police officers whose salary is who's not tied up, and which is why we encourage a lot of recruits in different uniform branches. Don't let your first investment be a vehicle. You know, the car companies like to rush to recruits.
You could stop Bahamians doing that?
Stop. You just encourage them with financial advice.
You could encourage Bahamians not to do that?
Nurses, police officers, social workers, teachers, young professionals. We believe that we have the ability to produce housing units that will not all be standalone homes. Some will be condos, some will be townhouses. We will use Crown land as a way of cutting substantial amount of funds off the cost. So, for example, one of the things that we sought to do last time, unfortunately, when it was done, way too close to the election cycle, etc. Imagine for a moment you could get a parcel of land in an area where ordinarily a young professional may not be able to afford that land.
That was a good initiative.
But if government have acres of land that we can help cap what that price is, assist with the infrastructure, we are then able to substantially reduce the cost of land and such a development. We are committed to doing that. And not just in out east, out west, the deep south, etc. We can do this over the hill. We have thousands of properties, lots, dilapidated houses, etc. We're not talking about government building. We're talking about government causing building to occur.
Now, not everyone will want a house or qualify. Let's be real about that. What will a Pintard administration do to address what a rent that is just absolutely unbelievable nowadays?
Right. So I'll just button up the housing component by saying we want to be a part of transforming over the hill, which means, again, removing dilapidated houses, overgrown lots, working with owners where owners cannot be identified or titles are in dispute, to clean that up with a view of exploding opportunities over the hill.
I know that a number of administrations have attempted to do that and clean up over the hill, basically. It is a hard fix.
Yeah, I used to live in Step Street, Fox Hill for 12 years. And so I think I have a proof of concept.
Did you not have a sort of a plan to build condominiums in Step Street? What happened to it?
And I did.
You did?
I built 8 units initially, sold 5, built 4, sold all of those, built a house up on the hill that was a duplex, and that was built for a family, and again sold all of the lots. In fact, Bamboo Shack came in and did a subdivision as an extension of what we were doing. So we were all feeding off each other. It's doable. And I can tell you, this was with minimal construction experience, but with so many talented contractors, we can do something transformative in terms of exploding housing opportunities. The same with respect to rental. I also made the point earlier that the government can, using the land that's in our inventory, to incentivize builders so that they can build and cap what rent they are charging folks. Social housing is not an unusual concept, and governments at the municipal level in the US, at the state level, in different countries there are different types of social.
But do we want to build and develop modern day ghettos?
No. We're talking. When I talk about social housing, I'm talking about it in the context of people owning their home. And secondly, rental units, you can, if we benefit you with land that reduce your cost for construction, we are asking you, don't build inventory that you convert to Airbnb. We want you in the rental market, fine. All we are saying is cap what you are going to be charging residents. You're not charging $18 if you benefit from government. We make land to you if you want to build for yourself. But a landlord, if we're helping you in terms of land and infrastructure, we're expecting you to pass on the savings that we give to you to persons who you are renting to. There are many different formulas. I'm giving you but one example of what government can do to reduce the exposure of a landlord so that they could pass on that saving to somebody who cannot afford to pay $1,500 or $2,000. So there are different things we're able to do. I believe those people who believe what we are planning to do is too ambitious, I think their ambition is too low. We can do this working with various contractors in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, speeding up the process where plans will be evaluated by Ministry of Works. I believe you get engineers in the private sector to evaluate plans for both commercial as well as residential properties. All the engineers do not have to be resident in the Ministry of Works. Mm-hmm. The persons who are from environmental health, we should outsource much of this, make sure that the persons, again, have insurance, make sure that they are bonded depending on the size of the projects that they are inspecting or approving plans for. But we need to move, the Bahamas is too slow in the review of plans and the approval of plans. Yes. And I believe we have the capacity to move faster. I'm confident there's a lot of smart people out there, smarter than those of us in government. The target we have set is doable.
So this public-private partnership that you intend to make work.
Of course, of course.
But I know that we are just about done, and you will come back, I imagine.
I would be happy to.
Because the relationship between...
and you will protect me in my absence.
We have a lot of fun.
You protect me in my absence.
I promise to have people here who could speak, because listen, don't you know what I mean? There's a show.
We can pray before I leave, and the Holy Spirit will stay in this place.
Stay in this place.
Yeah, so that whoever comes...
we don't ever speak against Michael Pintard ever
No, falsely.
Again.
No, my shoulders are broad and I build for battle. I'm just saying fairness is all that I require. That's all.
It's fair.
Huh?
It's fair.
No, I wasn't accusing you. I was just making a general statement.
I have a fair panel here. Think about the panel I have now. I have a fair panel here. So listen, the relationship between the Grand Bahama Port Authority, what is that about, y'all? Did you hear that? I want to ask you. Well, I know. I want to ask you this. What is the biggest blunder you think this administration has made?
They are motivated by politics, and so this attempt to create optics of them fighting for us have led them into some arguments and some fights that I don't think they had a proper end game in mind. And we've seen it all. They are big on overselling and under-delivering. And in Grand Bahama, I think that's the best example. The Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister oversold this idea of them selling the hotel and developing a world-class hotel. They have done the exact opposite. They have spent public money partying people around signing a heads of agreement. They have lied about $120 million being in the bank. And now they have closed the hotel practically, and 207, but maybe 90-something persons are out of work. Again, over-promising, under-delivering, motivated by politics rather than changing people's lives for the better. The airport, the same thing. Without a plan, a design, an architectural drawing for the airport, without determining the exact location of the airport, they promised that in 2025 phase one would be complete. They haven't even gotten started, despite the fact having competent contractors waiting to start.
You must come back. I want you to please speak with my team so that you are back to discuss Grand Bahama at length. But as leader of the opposition in this term, you have faced a lot of battles. The FNM has allowed its inner battles to spill out on the streets, per se. What do you think maybe is your biggest blunder or success as leader of the FNM?
Well, again, the Bahamian public is going to determine whether or not we are ready for prime time. What our job is to make the case by laying out our policy positions, what legislation we are going to put in place, and also what will be the tone and tenor of our time in office. And I've set that tone. I've made it clear we are big on accountability. We are not going to cloak or protect anyone who acts in a corrupt manner in terms of discharging their duties. We're going to be transparent. We will open the books so you can not only see what the PLP has done, you have access to see what's motivating our decisions behind the scene, and then we'll govern with humility. We believe a lot more smart people are out there than in Parliament, and so we ought to be facilitators. That is, moving obstacles out of the way of entrepreneurs so that they can succeed, not being an albatross around the necks of businesses as this administration is. And so you asked about my time in opposition. As far as I'm concerned, there are always challenges. I believe we have weathered the storm. I'm here with you on the eve of an election, optimistic about our victory. So whatever I've gone through has better prepared me for the kind of challenges I must face as Prime Minister in governing this country going forward.
Michael Pintard, leader of the Free National Movement, joining me here for the entire hour this evening. Thank you very much. It's been awesome sitting next to you and discussing much of the nation's issues and even your plans and thoughts about many of the areas and how you plan to sort of direct should you be successful at the polls in the upcoming general election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I just want to say to Marco City, I love you. I always
right here, look right here.
Love you and appreciate the honor that you have given me to represent you. And now I look forward to creating the same culture we created in Marco City, where we don't watch colors, we just govern for everyone. We're going to take that national. God bless all of you.
So you feel confident in Marco City?
I feel confident in the Bahamas.
There you have it. There you have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Pintard. Thank you for being here this evening. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. I certainly enjoyed having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.